I'm at a total loss with what to say about climbing in the Dolomites. How do you explain an experience that's taken root so deeply in your soul that there aren't words enough to describe it? Somewhere that when you're climbing has the paradoxical ability to make you feel so small and insignificant on the wall, dwarfed by the immensity of the place. Yet somehow in those same breathless moments, you feel so alive. Climbing has this unique knack for taking you to some of the most beautiful remote corners of the wild. It's not unusual to turn a corner and find yourself completely awed by insane views. But the thing that struck us most about the Dolomites was that it is every corner. Every view is 360 degrees of beautiful.
Oh man, look at that wall!
In all these years as climbers, I can't really think of a good reason why we've not ticked the Dolomites off our climbing bucket list yet. And as parents of young kids, we could have shelved that list altogether years ago. But kids aren't the price of freedom. They're architects of dreams.
Look behind you. It's amazing. Okay. Fall down the hill. This is it! Climbing day 1 of the realization of a dream. Oh my gosh, look at that for a view. They're just coming, I think they're right behind us.
And then right beside it there's a chain here.
I get a chain just up there, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's air conditioning.
One of the best things about travelling and climbing is the people you meet and the friends you make along the way. And for us, that also means that our kids get to hang out with really amazing people.
Oh, left you hanging.
Case in point, these two legends.
You only get a victory fist pump. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Devo mangiare.
Yeah, when you come down, darling, you want to clip them back in for Arlo? Yeah. That's a good girl.
Citta de Sassi is this really cool, massive, sprawling boulder field in the shadow of Sassolungo in Passo Sella.
Well done. Boom. That was really good.
Ok, adesso man mano che...
I love big mountain routes, but we've not tackled any multi-pitches with the kids yet. And one of the things I love most about climbing in Citta de Sassi is that it gives you big wall vibes from the insane walls towering behind you, but with all the ease of a family day cragging.
This side, innit?
No.
No?
Grades-wise, there's not really a lot of high grades at Citta de Sassi, but there's a huge concentration of amazing 5s and 6s, and even some 4s, and more than a few standout 7As. This sector was really practical for us as a family because the easy routes for the kids were on the slab side of the shady overhanging wall that us oldies were climbing. So we could just dump all our gear and build a base camp for the kids to play when they're not climbing. And while you don't need to move the whole day, if you do want to climb elsewhere, the other sectors are all just dotted about really close by.
Leia! Oh, can you go down and watch me?
I can see from here.
No, go down there.
Wow, that brings back some very vibrant memories of the day you were born.
Walking back out, we stumbled on a little pile of human poop on the path. And sure, if you gotta go, you gotta go. but bury it. Don't do it on or near the path. And
You gotta pick your toilet paper up.
You gotta pick your toilet paper up, man.
You just messed it up. It doesn't really look like a blue diamond.
wow. Did you get a picture?
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Hello, you. I'm so lucky I was going to run into bushes.
That's so cool. That's a really good picture. We spent our first couple of weeks around Passo Fidaya, mostly because our mates Mattia and Amo were working there, but also situated at the foot of the Marmolada, the highest mountain in the range and queen of the Dolomites. It's a fab central location for loads of great crags, like this one just down the road. Capana is a fantastic roadside crag, a short 5-minute walk from the parking across a grassy slope beneath the Marmolada. It's got some really cool 6s, but it's best in the 7s and 8s, and the routes are a mix of really enjoyable, technical, fingery climbing.
Boom! Well done!
Granted, there's not a huge amount of stuff for the kids, with the easiest grade being a really technical 6A+, which was a bit stiff for Arlo, but he gave it a good shot, and Aya just enjoyed trying, to be honest. For us, it was a great crag for a chance to work some harder routes with plenty of grassy space away from the base and a river for the kids to play in. I think it's also a local favourite for exactly that reason, because we weren't the only family here, which was really nice.
Okay. I'm gonna keep it on. It's too cold. Although I'd rather be cold than too hot.
Getting life to the point where we can climb as a family has been a slow but worthwhile process, and I love climbing with the kids, and still just being able to climb with Hardin and friends feels really important too. Climbing routes together, sharing beta, working projects, and having a small part of our village around the kids goes a really long way to keeping us sane. Mattia and I hopped on this 7B together, and it was so fun to share the psych and unpack the moves with friends. It's probably one of the most interesting, most memorable 7Bs I've been on in a while, with sustained moves for the first 3 quarters, leading up to what I can only describe as a sketchy font boulder problem-esque crux. It was such a good route though. There was a guy trying what looked like a really nice 7C next to it. Now, I've not climbed anything at that grade since I had Arlo and Aya, but the moves just looked so good, and the psych was high, so I thought, why not give it a go?
Soon this will be a baby.
So annoying. I only get 2.5 or 2 fingers. Can't even 2.5. I think it's come up.
And pretty deep she got them, eh? Like, pretty deep.
Annoying. Come on, bum. Stick it.
Ale.
Oh, nice. Come on, Kirsty. I can stick it. Strong. Come on, move. Move, move, move. Yes, come on, Kirsty. Move.
Come on.
Yes, come on. Next one's good. Come on.
Ale.
Nice. Go on, Kirsty. Pocket. Because yeah. You see it. Nice. Come on. Spit in the pocket. Oh, come on. Ale.
Come on, Kirsty.
Ale.
Ah!
I went back on it 2 more times that day and twice the next, working the moves and trying to link the cruxes. The bottom crux I just fell off went smoothly, but this top one took a new level of mental commitment for me. I fell off it a couple of times, and the other times I just plain chickened out of doing the hardest moves, knowing I was likely going to peel off the wall well above my last draw. The thing for me about being a mum and travelling full time with the kids is that we don't tend to take on projects we can't do in more than a few goes. Because the age the kids are at, it's not fun for them for us to drag them back to the same wall over and over again when there's not much climbing for them to do. So sometimes we have to walk away. But this route felt so close and I really wanted it. Maybe I'll go back before we leave the Dolomites.
Priority for.
Is the bar open?
Get the
In the
wine
meantime,
open.
we've got kids to feed and a cheeky bottle of Italian wine to review ahead of climbing in one of the Dolomites' most famous towers.
Actually quite
That
nice.
is nice.
The Italian man, they know how to make wine.
You do know how to make wine. In litre bottles.
In litre bottle, yeah.
You can hike up to Cinque Torri, but we took the gondola for the experience, which the kids loved, and we loved the change of pace to hoofing 2 kids and 20 kilos of gear up a hill. Not to mention, the views are fantastic.
It's so fun! Ready?
Ready?
Here we go!
I can't believe this.
You can't believe this? Me neither. This is so cool.
That's the rock there we're going to bet is on the other side.
That is the rocks that we are going to climb, yeah.
Arlo, was that fun? Loved it. Okay, wow, look at that view. Okay, now I understand why it's so popular up here.
From the parking below, you can't really see any hint of what's hidden up here.
behind you.
I honestly thought it was going to be a wasted day, but oh my god. When you get up here, the views are mind-blowing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Everywhere you look is insane beauty, and the climbing is just incredible.
There we are. We know these guys. I don't think we want to be on the north face. I think we probably want to do the south.
North face, yeah. This is north face.
The first routes were established on Torri Grande in the 1920s. We've always enjoyed climbing in hard new areas and exploring upcoming places off the beaten path, but I think there's something just as special to climb on the old beaten path. To climb rocks and routes that people have been climbing on since before I was born, before my parents were born, before their parents were born. Modern climbing is constantly pushing the boundaries in terms of grade and human physical ability, but back then in places like the Dolomites, they were defining what climbing is and establishing the boundaries before repeatedly breaking them and setting them all over again. And it's incredible to think that all that happened on this very same rock 100 years before us and our kids pulled onto it.
Nicely done. Get relaxed again. Good job. Nice, come on.
Oh, Arlo, buddy, you're doing so good. So good. Okay. Yoo-hoo! Yes! Well done! Oh, Arlo, look, the lady's gonna take a picture! Oh, thank you! Woohoo! Smooth exit. That was fun. Oh, that was an amazing day. That was such a good day.
We went all the way up there.
All the way out there. You ready for a big hike? Yeah?
That's crazy looking rock.
It's that way. Lead the way then.
When you're climbers with tiny versions of yourself that can't sit still, is there really a better way to explore the Dolomites and spend a rest day than a 16-kilometre hike up a 2,500 metre peak? Yeah, not really.
We made it.
We're not there yet.
Now we had the...
This is only the first Refugio. There's still more. Wow. Oh my god. Ah.
Take a break. Marley, you need some water.
Marley. She's like, come on. Come on, guys. We're 2.6 kilometers away. We're not far.
We're already almost 1K from down. So
Cool.
going super good.
Dig deep, buddy.
Climb up.
Yes. Super good. Whew. Did you hear another marmot? Yeah?
Yeah, I think this one.
All right, let's keep going. We're 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers from the top. Let's go. Dig deep. Where is it? Wow. They're actually quite big.
Oh yeah. It's a fluffy, furry ball. It's like she has hiccups, you know? You're mastering the language.
Alan. Alan. Alan.
Oh my god, I love that video.
Alan. Alan. Hey. Doing good, guys. Almost there.
There is the flag. There's the...
Oh, this is the easy bit.
Yeah, nice.
Now it's just flat. Hi, Molly. It's insane, isn't it? Amazing. I love there's a helicopter up here as well. Look at the view. Fist pump, fist pump, fist pump. Boom.
Like with the helicopter.
Fist pump. Fist pump. Well done, Roland.
You did amazing.
You did so good.
You guys.
Cheers! Cheers, darling.
Oh yeah. Oh. Buon appetito.
Buon appetito.
Nice.
That's like compliments to the chef. Huh?
To go up, to go back down.
Have to go up to go back down. You ready? Cold.
I'm so like that.
Oh, what a place, eh? Look how beautiful it is.
Beautiful, and with the best tagliatelle and deer ragu of our entire lives. We talked about it the entire way down.
Darling, you did so good. I am seriously proud of you. Sorry.
Dance!
That was such a good hike, but bloody hell, that was hard. Yeah, that was hard.
Hey, my super girl.
These kids, I was just messing around. Your grandkids are so awesome.
We all needed a few proper days rest after that, which was lucky because the following morning,
It's snowing!
I think most people would drive down away from a blizzard, but when you raised your kids in Indonesia and they haven't really seen snow, you drive up into it and you take a black bin bag.
Christmas in September.
Lately your blue skies
This is unexpected.
turning all the clouds gray.
Let's go.
Baby, I can see a storm warning. I'm boarding all the
Three.
windows up to date. And the ghosts have been calling.
The kids are loving it, man.
You don't
This
hear
is just
what they
amazing.
say, so let me do all the talking. I'll keep your troubles at bay, 'cause it's you and me till the end of the line. It's you and me, sparking like crossed wires. When I see you move through a certain light, I tend to lose my mind. It's you and me till they say last call. It's you and me, gonna risk it all. Hand on the wheel, right by your side. Hold on till the end of the line. It's you and me till the end of the line. It's you and me, sparking like crossed wires. When I see you move through a certain light, I tend to lose my mind. It's you and me till they say last call. It's you and me, gonna risk it all. Hand on the wheel, right by your side. Hold on till the end of the line.
Worse than the kids.
Oh, it was so good.
Stop means stop. Yeah, I'm really good at
Oh, my bum! Ah, it's bruised. Ah, from the
That's smelly.
sliding. It's right where my bag goes.
With the snow covering all the high altitude crags, we came down to the lower areas into one of the most unique and incredible climbing areas I think we've ever been to.
How's your fingers feeling today? Good. Cool. Me too.
Toad, the water toad.
I warm my finger up to my armpit.
It's such a long route.
I can't believe I have to run it out. One left. What a route, huh?
That was long, man.
40
So
meters
long. Goes all the way to the top. What a cool route, eh?
One last correct, like two clip before the chains go. It's just blank. It goes to the scrimps. Just had to do this, like really pulling the scrimp to a good hole, but I couldn't see the good hole. I just went for it. And, oh my god! Thank God for that.
Thank God, Doug.
Is it like this? Look, I can use it. Is it?
Castle Piatra is an old school crag that we loved. It's another good one for families with a little mini crag off to the side that's great for kids. Despite running away from the snow up the road, it was still cold enough to freeze the balls off a brass monkey, but the friction was really good.
Which one?
This one.
That line?
Mustache.
With a mustache. Shall I jump up there and meet you halfway?
Yeah.
Give you some encouragement.
If you say go on there, I will actually touch it. Oh yeah.
Go on there. Oh, you can totally get to the chain on this one, darling. Ready?
Yep.
Good luck.
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Alright, what's this wood?
Huh?
How do I love this wood?
You love this route? It's a cool route.
Super easy.
That's it. Good job.
Done it.
Well
A
done.
bit hard. Hello.
Hello. Halfway mark. Yeah, halfway fist pump. Boom. Keep going, darling. You're doing so good.
Watch me.
Nicely done. Yes.
This is a hard work.
You're doing really good at it, though.
Yeah.
Nice, dear. Get your feet up, sweetheart.
Me too.
Nice. I like that.
I feel a little bit stiff on this side.
I know, everyone gets a wee bit scared, darling. It's okay to be scared. Do you know the fun bit? Is when you're scared and then you let your brave out and you go past it. That's when it's really fun.
Right. I just have to get some chalk.
That's it.
I'm almost there.
Yeah, you did it.
I did it. I didn't have the phone in my head.
Boom. Oh, I was so proud of you. Well done.
Thank you.
No hands rest.
I'm ready.
The climbing on this little crag beside the main wall is so good for kids because it's blocky and with obvious lines making it easy for them to find their way. Weirdly, it's wildly different to the main wall, which is overhanging and chock full of pockets and crimps and just how I like it.
Oh! It is cold enough to put balls on a brass monkey. So many layers. I can't bend at the joints. I'm like, oh man.
We co-slept with her for years. She now just takes herself off for sleep whenever and wherever she feels like it. So parents, don't stress about any of what they say about kids and sleep. They all get there in the end. With the snow and freezing temperatures now set in, it's time to leave for Spain, but not before I get one more shot at my route.
Start the thing.
I went away, you first to start.
Kids are so excited.
There's only 12 quick draws in that, right?
After I had Aya, I ended up taking 4 years off climbing, and I felt like me and I didn't really feel like me at the same time during those years, if that makes sense. People talk about losing yourself in motherhood, and you kind of do, good and bad, but losing sounds negative. You give yourself, and I didn't give anything that I didn't get back tenfold now. The term bouncing back from kids is misleading. I was up and hiking again when she was wee, but recovering from childbirth is intense, and it probably took my body and my brain a good couple of years to recover. And I'm still doing the core work, and my tummy muscles occasionally cramp when I try to put my climbing shoes on. And since becoming a mum and returning to climbing, I've struggled with my head at my limit, but I'm working on it and enjoying it again, and the feeling of sending such an awesome route is only seconded by the feeling of the tiny pairs of arms that embrace me when I touch the ground. The baby years were tough. Even now, parenting and balancing all this is challenging. I think it always will be, but you can see your kids as an excuse not to be able to do something, or you can see them as a reason to chase your dreams. And in the end, I realise I lost nothing. Motherhood has made me.
What are these two nutters doing? Come on then, let's go.
I don't want to be alright.
All the way in the back, ready? Go off.
Yes.
Is it? Oh no, it's Aya!